Back on Baltimore in a moment. Their loss opened the door. The Bengals could tie them atop the AFC North, taking on Tennessee in Nashville. This rematch of a playoff game from last year. Ryan Tannehill finds Derrick Henry in a 3-3 game, and the big fella is loose. Now he's in space, and now he's going to score. Actually, he's not, but the Titans are. Ball's out. Cam Taylor-Britt, beautiful punch of the ball. I keep saying it, but it really has become an art form in the game these days. Treylon Burks, your first ever touchdown. How'd you get it? Fell on the ball that they knocked out of Henry's hands. But here come the Bengals. Samaje Perine, who went touchdown crazy last week, back in the end zone. Game tied at 10s. Titans get into field goal range. Caleb Shudak misses this one from 35. Here's Mike Vrabel on that miss right before halftime.
Bad snap, bad hold, a bad kick. Make sure you write all three of those down. That's what happens.
Still a tie game. And we're still tied at 13s as we are early fourth. Beautiful pass and catch here on 3rd and 12. Trenton Irwin makes a sliding grab, and that keeps the drive going. Next play for the Bengals. And Burrow to T. Higgins. 7 for 114, and that huge touchdown, and the Bengals are now in front. What a grab from T for the TD, and this is 20-13 game. Titans looking to answer. Derrick Henry, this guy's so tough to bottle up, but Cincinnati did their job. Mike Hilton coming in off the corner. Henry held to 37 yards, second lowest total of the season. It's 3rd and 15. Tannehill finds Nick Westbrook-Akine. Gets the Titans a little closer. They get the field goal. It's a 4-point game. Ensuing Bengals possession. And it's Higgins again. Similar to the touchdown. And they're getting a little bit closer. But now this Titans defense, and they are rugged, tough bunch. Jeffrey Simmons, one of the better front players in the NFL. I'm trying to say lineman, you know what I mean. Field goal on the way. And it's good. But better, if you're Cincinnati, is that flag, because you don't need the points. This penalty on Kevin Strong, called for a knockout over the long snapper, which is not allowed, allows the Bengals to take the points off the board, but take knees instead and win this very rugged ball game. Trent Taylor did the backflip. Here's Joe Burrow on a hard-fought win.
Yeah, this is the kind of game that great teams win. It's not always going to be pretty. This is the NFL. You're playing really, really good teams on the opposing end. It's not going to be pretty all the time, but you got to find ways to win, and we're starting to do that. It's December now. This is when the football counts. So we're 7-4. We're in a great spot. Really happy with our continued improvement throughout the season. But now it's time to show what kind of championship medal we have with this coming schedule, and I know we'll be ready for it.
So let us be the first to welcome you to December, evidently. That is 3 wins in a row for the Bengals. The last 2 on the road. They're now tied for the lead in the AFC North, heading home to get set for a huge game next week as the Chiefs come to town. This win impressive because it comes without Mixon or Chase against a top 10 scoring defense. Joe Burrow, you just heard him say it best. This is the kind of game great teams win. Are the Bengals great? I don't know yet. But this is not a game that an average or ordinary team wins. So the Bengals get this one. Tim Hasselback with us. I want you to give us some thoughts on the Bengals in a moment. Are they a great team? We don't know. Does a great team lose the way Baltimore lost Sunday?
No, great teams don't do that. Great teams don't give up leads the way they have, this season. They don't, fail to convert on 3rd downs the way they have this season late in games. And I think there are things, like we probably believe that Baltimore is a playoff team, with their schedule, their pedigree, if you will. But I think there are things that they're doing that they could end up in the postseason and get run off the field if they do it. This is what I mean. Good teams don't do this. They don't bust. It's a zone pressure, and they just completely vacate a zone, which ends up leading to points for Jacksonville. Like, good defenses don't do that. Good offenses don't do this. They're trying to run a boot play here. And when you get 2 outside, 2 as an overhang, you have to anticipate there might be pressure up the field. Lamar gets that. You can't make a bad situation worse. They're actually fortunate that ball's not turned over. Good teams don't do this, Scott. Protecting a 2-point lead inside 6 minutes. Take the touchback. If you are going to return it, you can't do this and get tackled, inside your own 10-yard line. And then the very next play, you can't do this as you're protecting a lead. Let the ball get away from your body and then have it get punched out. And so I just think that, listen, I've seen John Harbaugh coach teams. They're usually really good on the details, which help you win football games. I feel like we've seen at times this year them get away from some of those details that end up costing you football games like they did this week.
But you and I both agree, when we look at their schedule, you don't have to squint too hard to find a pile of wins. In theory, you got to be better on the details, but their schedule sets up. Meanwhile, you look at the Bengals. You got the Chiefs coming to town. You got Baltimore for what could mean a ton in the end. And in the middle, there's really nothing easy. And yet, this is a Cincinnati team. If they play like they did Sunday, maybe they find some wins in there. What do you think?
Well, I think you're exactly right about that because, look, if we were predicting this past week, did we think no Mixon, no Chase? Hey, let's go into Tennessee, and not only go into Tennessee, but kind of beat them at their own game, if you will. We're going to be more physical than the Tennessee Titans. Like the Titans, are typically the bully on the block. But look, it didn't matter that Samaje Perine is the back. They decided to run the football, and situationally, when it felt like, hey, you knew they were going to run it, that's fine. We're going to continue to call runs. We're going to put backs in the game. They're going to run hard and break tackles. That typically does not happen against the Tennessee Titans. And then you mentioned it in the highlight. Oh, by the way, then we're also going to stop Derrick Henry. So I thought the physical nature of that win probably tells you something about the Bengals. I kind of viewed them as a finesse team, especially with Chase in the lineup.
It's just interesting in the big picture. It started poorly, lost a couple of games. They've had moments. They got squashed on a Sunday night or a Monday night against Cleveland. They just haven't, or maybe it's a Thursday. It doesn't matter. Yep. But they've had moments where they haven't looked great, and yet they keep absorbing those punches, and they look like the team that might land some as we advance throughout the remainder of the season. I've done a terrible job at knowing when I'm done, and I've said goodbye, and you're coming back. You're not going to be back on any more in this show.
I'll see you next Sunday.
There you go. And I hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
Happy December.
There you go. Thank you. Tim Hasselbeck.
Smooth like chocolate milk. Smooth like chocolate milk.
Maybe they call that play chocolate milk. How the Chargers got the late win, rolling the dice. Brandon Staley's not afraid to do that. Highlights from the desert. Baltimore Ravens 4-1 on the road this season in Jacksonville Sunday. Jags coming in with 4 losses in their last 5. This one got delayed for a bit by some storms in the area, but the sun was out, and this turned into a great ball game. Baltimore leading by 6. Travis Etienne out with a first quarter foot injury, and there's your Michael Hasty in the end zone, and Jackson DeVille getting loose in the end zone. That's a whole other conversation. It's now a 12-10 game. Baltimore got to the red zone a bunch, but had to settle for field goals. But Gus Edwards breaks the seal on the touchdown for Baltimore. Never down. Knee never hit, kept churning, and the Ravens now lead by 9. We're approaching the midway.